Today, June 20th, is the official start of summer. And for many people here in France, their favorite summertime drink is rosé wine. The rosy pink drink is light, refreshing, and delicious to have chilled on a hot summer night. Well, we're going to spend a bit of time talking more now about France's love affair with rosé with my guests. We have Sophie Kessler-Matière, who's the maker of Château Calisson wine in the southern Provence region. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thanks for the invitation.
We also have with us wine expert Julia Harding, who is the editor of the Oxford Companion to Wine and co-author of the book Wine Grapes, who's joining us live from London. Welcome to you, Julie.
Thank you.
And also with us, we have Maggie Fréjean-Tattinger, who is the founder of French Bloom, which is a sparkling non-alcoholic wine that's been named the best non-alcoholic sparkling wine in the world. Congratulations,
Thank you for having me,
Maggie.
Jeudi.
So great to have all of you here. So, Sophie, let me start with you. So, first of all, very basic question. How do you make rosé wine? I know for some people, they might say, do you just take red and white and put it together?
Oh, no, it's more delicate than that. First, we start the harvest in the night. Starting from 2 o'clock in the morning to get fresh juice in order to get a very pale robe. And then we try to blend different type of grapes, mainly Syrah, Grenache, sometimes Cabernet Sauvignon, and Vermentino, which is a white grape.
Okay, so
it's very delicate.
So we mix together these different kinds of grapes. But I'm looking at the rosé that you've brought us. Those colors are very different. They go from a very dark pink to a very light pink. So what makes the difference?
The difference makes that you have the Syrah is the basic grape for the rosé, and if you have a little touch of Cabernet Sauvignon, it could be darker or lighter, and it depends also the temperature of the harvest. Then when you separate the juice from the skin, you need to get it, if you want to get it very pale, you have to get it very quickly in the morning and starting from 2 a.m.
Julie, I'm going to bring you in here now in London. And what makes rosé stand out from red wine or white wine? What's the difference?
Well, it's typically thought of as more refreshing than red wine, not more than white, but it's actually a very versatile wine because you could drink it on its own, or today I think there are more and more serious styles of rosé which go very well with food, and they're very versatile with different types of food, particularly at a time where we're, I think, generally eating less red meat and lighter foods. Rosé is particularly well suited to those styles of food.
And how does rosé rank in the red-white rosé competition? Which is the best-selling wine?
Well, there's been a massive change in the last 20 years. So today, I think 1 bottle in 10 consumed around the world is rosé. And this has really changed a lot, particularly in France, incredibly. 1 bottle in 3 consumed is rosé. There's been a great increase in the volume both produced and consumed, particularly at the cost of red wine, which in the last 20 years has probably gone down about 25%.
And that's actually interesting, and maybe, Sophie, perhaps you can speak to this too, is rosé used to not be considered a very fancy wine, a very popular wine, perhaps one even that you would drink with food. What changed? Sophie, what changed for you?
Well, it became popular around 20 years ago. People thought because it was pink, rosé, pale, it should be less alcohol. So people starting to say, well, this is French, this is summer times, so we have a lighter wine. In fact, well, the degree is the same as for the red, white, or rosé, but it was like a fashion, and now it becomes very fashionable to drink rosé because you have freshness. It's very fruity. Sometimes it could be spicy, and it's a wine that you don't just drink for the year. No vintage from 2 years before, just the 2023 for 2024.
Why is that?
Because it's a lot of freshness, a lot of fruitness, but you can't keep it a long time.
Julia, you were saying as well that the amount of rosé that's been sold over the years has indeed increased. Is that true, particularly in some countries more than others? I mean, France, obviously, I'm guessing, but what about other countries? Do they have also this new love of rosé?
Well, I would say mainly the greatest increase has been in the UK, the US, and Germany. But as you say, France. And I think one of the other factors that's affected this is people who have always, particularly in the UK and the US, have often thought of rosé as not a dry wine, slightly not sweet, but off dry. And I think that's another reason why it wasn't taken so seriously. And today, the better rosés are made specifically that the grapes are grown specifically for rosé wine, whereas in the past it was often a sort of offcut for red. You take some of the juice away from the red wine to make the red more concentrated, and then you'd make rosé out of it. So it wasn't considered a serious wine that you made specifically in the vineyard. So now that people are growing grapes to make rosé and making dry rosé, really serious rosé that has some concentration as well as all the freshness that we've spoken about, I think it's that side of it as well. The dry side of it has really made a difference. And in the States, where people used to drink a lot of what was called blush, which was a sweetish rosé, dry rosé is now much more popular, and in the UK.
Mm. Maggie, let me bring you in now. So you make the best-selling non-alcoholic sparkling rosé wine. Tell us a bit about that, and have you noticed an increase in people buying non-alcoholic rosé wine?
Absolutely. There's no question that there is this increasing demand that's really being led by millennials and the Gen Z. But what's interesting is when we created French Bloom, we actually thought that it would be for a very different consumer than the reality. What I mean is in 2019, when I first started developing French Bloom, I was pregnant with twins. I was working at the Michelin Guide, and for somebody who loves wine and even today appreciates traditional sparkling, I was really surprised on the lack of options for those who don't wish to drink. And I shared this with my co-founder, Constance Schabowski, who at that time was moderating her alcohol consumption as a fashion model and traveling the world. So we created French Bloom thinking it would be for the sober community, it would be for pregnant women, it would be for the religious market. And fast forward to today, 3 years later, with a presence in 32 markets, we realize that our consumers do drink.
So what makes it a non-alcoholic sparkling wine? What makes it still a wine?
Absolutely. So for French Bloom, we always start, of course, with organic French grapes with a vinification process. And I think what really makes the difference between non-alcoholic wine and good non-alcoholic sparkling wine is the R&D. If we kind of look at the non-alcoholic beer industry, for example, as a benchmark, it's tremendous, the progress they've made over these last 10 years. And it's a direct result of tens of billions of euro of investment by the beer industry, but it's also a decade of R&D. So for French Bloom, we've really recreated the entire winemaking process in order to rethink the vinification, but there is a vinification.
It's interesting. All four of us here are women. Most of my team is women. They were the ones really pushing to do a segment on rosé wine. Sure. Is rosé for all of you a majority feminine drink? Do only women drink rosé, Sophie?
No. It's for male and female and young people too, because they were the first to start loving rosé wine. Now we have to be careful. We have to produce very high quality rosé, fruity, spicy, perfumed, because the young consumer may say, we would like to white wine now, because they change. So we need to stick to the goût of the consumer. And the rosé is a crush between the producer and the consumer. You like it. Like if you are in love, you like it at first sight, you say, well, I love it. Then you keep the flavor in your mouth, and you say, well, I want to try it again, because the color of the robe is pale, because there's not so much alcohol, and because the flavor is what I like.
Julia, what do you think? Is rosé more of a woman's drink?
It probably is. If you go purely by statistics, But I think that also has changed, and I'm very glad it has, because it's a ridiculous idea that it's only women who drink rosé. The associations with cheap, sweet, non-serious wine has been the same problem. I think men have thought, oh, not serious enough wine. It doesn't go with my steak. You know, the sort of very strong masculine view of red wine. I mean, a lot of men for a long time didn't even drink white wine, thinking that it was a woman's drink. But the one thing we could say now is real men do drink rosé.
After quiche, real men do drink rosé. Just very briefly, both Sophie and Maggie, I know you're constantly developing new wines. You both have new wines that are coming out. Just quickly, tell us about yours, Sophie.
I'm a wine producer, but also olive oil producer. On the estate, we do produce both cultures. And we try to think every year for the harvest. The weather conditions could be different, like the two past years were very dry, and this year is very wet. But we have to do the same rosé. We have to do the same product. And that's the difficulty in our market, is that to get the same high quality, because the high quality is what the consumer wants.
And Maggie, I know for you, you have a brand new, very high-end sparkling wine. Tell us about that.
Sure. I couldn't agree more with what Sophie just said, because at French Bloom, we have a conviction that when you drink a fine wine, it's first and foremost for the complexity, for the emotion, for the depth, and alcohol can be secondary. So we've been working for 4 years on our first vintage Blanc de Blanc called La Cuvée. And here what you can expect is a wine of great complexity, of depth. And we do an extra early harvest. We age it in oak barrels, and we're really pleased to have released it about a month ago internationally.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much to both of you. Thanks to you, Julia. I just have to wrap up with a very controversial question: rosé with or without ice cubes?
Whatever he likes.
Yeah, we're not dogmatic at French Bloom, so
we
as
won't.
you like.
I say that because I love putting ice in my rosé. Julia, how about you?
I think you can do whatever you like with your wine. I don't think it necessarily improves it, but it's better to drink rosé with an ice cube than warm rosé.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much to all of you. And of course, we do have to say to everyone, if you do drink alcoholic wine, remember to drink with moderation. Thank you so much to you, Maggie, to you, Sophie, and to you, Julia, all three of you for talking to us about the incredible summer drink of rosé. And thanks to you for watching. Stay with us. I'll be back in just a few minutes with more Paris Direct.